WTF What's the Focus podcast is brought to you by Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll even distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What's the focus? Pop culture, movies, and TV news. What's the focus? What's the focus?
You're awful! The preceding joke was brought to you by Men. We don't know what we did.
What's the Focus podcast? I believe we're at episode 9, which is
9-9.
9-9.
Nine.
Sorry, I'm a big fan
Sorry.
of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Just a plug there.
That's really not an issue. If that's your focus, Matt, let's just
No.
take it.
Okay,
You know what I
if
mean?
you want to go from
All right.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I will do that.
Okay. I thought we were going with the Nazi regime right there, but that's okay.
I
Never mind.
also-
Never mind.
I also was going Nazi
Just
regime
kidding.
as well. Yeah, no.
I
That's
mean,
what
I'll
had
do
to say.
both. I am technically half German. Nope, I won't go there. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's not go there. Okay, so introducing.
Keep it clean.
Oh, jeez. So
A lot of
now,
history.
two people that are going to be, for the most part, always on this show, unless somebody's taking a vacay or for personal reasons. But now adding on the second co-host to this show. So we got Matt Kerrigan. And
That's me.
And that's you. And then we have Mr. Michael Michio.
It's me, Michio.
Michio! You
Yeah.
Italian. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
You
Italian
Italian
bummer.
stallion, you son of a bitch.
That's the first time he's ever done that, folks. So congratulations. That's true character.
True character. All right, so episode 9 is a big episode for us, guys. We are going over one of the most popular shows ever made, Game of Thrones. So,
Yep. What an intro, by the way.
It's
Oh.
not Breaking Bad. We're out of here.
Oh God. Right?
okay.
I did much better in my opinion, but go ahead.
Much better. But hey, no, don't jump the gun, Mike. All right.
Okay. All right.
Well, plenty of time to bitch about
Stay on
things at the
target.
end.
Staying on target.
All right, so kind of the direction that we're going to be actually heading in this show is we're going to be talking about really seasons kind of 1 through 5. And we're going to kind of just start at the beginning, and it's not going to be in any particular real order. We're going to do our best to kind of recall everything that happened from beginning to end. But we're not going to be breaking this down into individual segments. So we're going to do it in a way where it's more kind of storytelling, and hopefully it's clear enough for people to kind of follow along with that. So from the beginning, and I was talking to both of you guys earlier today and yesterday, just right off the bat, season 1 Game of Thrones, in my opinion, was so special in all aspects. It covered so many bases for me. But I want to know your guys' kind of personal takes on it and personal opinions of just kind of your feelings towards it before we actually break into details. I mean, did you guys get hooked within the first season? Did it do its job, or did you kind of say, I'm going to give it a chance, and then you guys just kind of got caught on later? Like, how did that go for you? Matt, why don't you kick it off?
For me, it was I caught it like probably second or third episode, season 2. I was able to go back and just binge it, which probably, I don't know if it helped or hurt it. I probably would have been captivated either way if I just went episode by episode. But for me, being able to binge that first season was perfect because, yeah, I mean, like that first season, absolutely, like you said, it just nailed everything that was Game of Thrones at that moment. Just character, and then just complete, just turnabout face. Obviously with Ned Stark, just main character throughout, and then just how's your character? He's got his head cut off. No, and so it was, for me, season 1. I absolutely agree. It was the best season of any TV show that I've probably ever seen in a long time. Outside of, I don't know, like Scrubs, who knows? But I don't know, Seinfeld season 1. But I know. So I was able to binge it, and for me that was a perfect introduction. I did not do it episode by episode. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, season 1 was an awesome intro to just the world of Westeros and just establishing all the, all the different houses that we definitely got to cover in season 1. And, just the early introduction to, all these main characters that we were going to be with for the next, 8+ years. I mean, I probably think I started watching the show around season 3, so I was lucky to just kind of binge through the first 3 seasons and just really get sucked into the,
You get it. Yeah.
into the world. Exactly. So, but yeah, I mean, season 1's focus primarily on, Ed Stark, primarily was really interesting because, they at first you're thinking, that, Sean Bean's character is going to be the central point for this series, if you had never read the books, right? So I thought it was a really cool take to, kind of, lead that in through, the whole season, and then towards what I believe was the season finale of that season where he gets executed. But
what a perfect casting for Sean Bean coming off of Lord of the Rings right away. So you get that medieval feel off of Lord of the Rings. This character, it almost feels like Boromir, right? It was that in Lord of the Rings. It's almost a continuation. If Boromir didn't die, right? It was like, and he led this great house. So it had that feel of coming off Lord of the Rings, obviously years beforehand. But what a great casting choice to have him as Ned Stark, that just true honorable man, raising a family. It was. Season 1 was terrific.
But I have to admit, though, I mean, casting Sean Bean in itself, he pretty much dies in every movie. So I definitely felt like we were definitely going to go this route. So I wasn't too shocked.
I thought he was going to get killed off. But come on. And then within the first season, last episode, he was obviously the main character and main focus.
Which is crazy for a show to do that.
So rare.
Very, very, very bold.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking to both of you guys about. I think for me, I'm so used to the, hey, there's a good guy. Hey, there's a bad guy. And, at the end of the day, maybe the good guy goes through some trauma, but at the end of the day, he or she always wins, And that's great. That's what people get hooked on, these, superheroes, and they want them to win. They root for them. But, this show did something so different. And I personally can't recall a show that has just, brought so many people to their knees at the end of the season to where they were just flabbergasted that their main character, somebody who thought at the very end of the movie, oh, somebody's going to swing in and cut him free and he's going to fight his way out. He'll jump on a horse. He'll do something to get out of that situation. And it just is just nothing what you expect. And just
it's like that. It's like the Family Guy Spider-Man. Everybody gets one. Let them know, Peter. Everybody gets one.
It was just unbelievable. And from that, point on, for me, it attracted me so heavily because I just wanted to know, okay, well, if that's our main character, where the hell are they going now?
Well, and season 1 did a great job of establishing the bad guy too. It was clearly the Baratheons. There was clear. The storyline itself was the war between. There was the Targaryens that came beforehand. There was the Mad King to the Baratheon and Starks who really rose against that. And then since then, the Baratheon Robert himself has just become a drunkard, adulterizer. To where the Lannisters, who were also part of that rebellion, came in and were more manipulative, and the children of the Lannisters, and ultimately the father in later seasons, were just manipulative. You didn't even meet Tywin Lannister until season 2, right?
Yeah, season 2. You meet Tywin. Yeah,
so you get to
see him in season 1.
Right, you get the 2 kids. Yeah. So there's in season 1 you get that you already don't like. See, episode 1 you already don't like Jaime and Cersei, and they do a great job of just storytelling. Obviously,
Jaime throws a kid out a window. So
right. Yeah, and by they, we do mean obviously the writer Token. I'm just kidding. That's Jade. Oh my gosh! Now I'm spacing on
George R. R. Martin.
Thank you. Gosh.
And then, a long day.
And then Benioff.
Too much whiskey.
Yes.
All three of us partaking heavily.
Love you, Mom. But and Benioff and what's in the producers also writing on from then. But you don't even know the main antagonists, yet the main antagonists are there the whole time. They do a great job of just character writing that first season one from the books to the TV show. God, yeah, wow, season one. Wow, sorry, I'm so it's blowing my mind. I need to take a step back. Go ahead, guys.
No, yeah. So again, for people who just again, anybody who's listening to this has most likely seen the show. We hope. But
Spoiler alert! Yeah.
Couple of big things that just refreshers. I mean, this is the first time the Lannisters actually ever went up to the north and actually went to Winterfell. So we see, Jaime and Cersei, and you see, our all-time favorite person in the world, Joffrey. And you get to see those early interactions with the Lannisters and the Starks. And you get to really kind of already see the personalities and who you're dealing with. The Lannister boy, Joffrey, who's I guess a Baratheon technically. You can already see him being
Joffrey's a Lannister. Him and Jaime and
Cersei.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying technically he's a Baratheon. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Which is fine, apparently, in the land of Westeros.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not a big deal, man. It's not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
That's just history. Come on.
Yeah. So so you meet the characters. Let's see what else happens. You get introduced to they each get their direwolves, right?
Yeah, they're all puppies.
Yeah, so you get to see the little pups, which some of them obviously make it further along than others, but you get the introduction to them, which is still a pretty a big part of their character. And then what else, guys? We see, like you said, Jaime throws Bran out of the window, which really sets him up as his character for literally the entire series after that.
And then you definitely get to see the Daenerys's relationship with her brother and the torment that that definitely is about to ensue with her as far as her character path goes, right? Because talk about a character transformation from the beginning of that season to the end. Because that season also ends with her being the mother of dragons, coming and resurrecting out of the ashes of that fire. Just a lot of character development in the first season.
Can we just say how horrible the brother was? That guy was just the worst.
Just absolute piece of shit.
Which I guess is, kudos to him for being a great actor, because he got us to be exactly where they wanted us to be and just hate his guts.
Well, no, and that's what we learned throughout the rest of the behind the scenes, the after scenes, when these characters are actually later then killed off. These actors themselves, terrific job. Top down, terrific job. Casting, terrific job. Casting of even season one, we mentioned Sean Bean. I mean, it's the casting with Cersei, Jaime, Joffrey, the Jon Snow. I mean, the whole top to bottom. I can't say they replaced a few actors as they went along, but that original cast was perfect for what they did. I mean, kudos to whomever the casting director was, because they nailed it.
Yeah.
They definitely had a lot of momentum set up from the first season going into the second, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think from that point, the second season kind of just focuses around Robb Stark being the new, I guess the king of the North. And at that point, I honestly, maybe if you guys remember, who becomes the hand of the king at that point? Because Baratheon was he killed before Stark? I don't remember. I believe so. Yes, he died of illness or something.
In King's Landing?
Yeah, he had died,
so he died on a hunt, which was set up by Cersei, their cousin, and that's what set up later on. Sorry, Game of Thrones fans who are diehards and we're just swilled down here. But yes, Cersei set up her cousin to give Baratheon the too much wine, and then he got stabbed by the boar. It was all done by Cersei.
Yeah.
Cersei killed her husband, which then later also set up the seven gods or whatever. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I was basing on the cult that happened later on, like season 4 and 5.
Oh gosh, the ones with the golden masks, like those guys.
Not the golden mask. That's Sons of the Harpy. That happened in Essos. But what happened back at home, like the cult that was back at like the seven. Oh wow, gentlemen, come on, you're here with me.
Faith of the Seven.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Anyhow, so yeah, Cersei set up her cousin to be part of that, and that's what later went on to the later seasons. Baratheon died from basically murder. She admitted that later on.
Yeah. Yeah, the second season for me, from what I really recall, again, leading straight out of the first, is like you guys said, we got the Stark boy, and he's coming into King of the North, and now he's trying to gather as many troops as he can, because now his main objective after his father dying is now to go over and be really, the king of all the kingdoms, right? All the realms. So it's not just King of the North there. He's already making a trip for the Iron Throne himself, isn't he?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so other than just kind of like, and Game of Thrones does a great job of like extending their episodes, right? I mean, there doesn't need to be like a ton of exciting things to happen all the time. They have these little snippets of things where they have transition of characters of, Arya sneaking around. She's pretending to be a boy. She cuts her hair off. She's trying to survive, right? So there's all these little things that happen. Sansa, is getting, kind of brought into now the family with the Lannisters and brought into them. That happens in season 2, correct?
I mean, after Arya definitely sees, her father's execution, her character is completely changed at that point. I mean, she's hell bent on revenge and killing Cersei.
That's when she creates the list.
And Joffrey as well. So yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that's season 3 or whatever, because she rides with the Hound for a while before she actually, trains with the many-faced god guy, who we actually get no conclusion to as far as the end of the show, but we'll get there. But anywho, yeah.
Don't start already, Mike. I'm already keeping super tame on purpose. I'm muting the mic and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the bottom line here is that, I mean, the first 3 to 4 seasons were definitely more fleshed out. All these characters had some great, character arcs that were established for themselves, and we eventually get to a point where we're looking at where were the call signs of like things starting to slip, post season 5.
Well, it was a war story, right? I mean, the whole point of everybody knew that Cersei Lannister and Jaime Lannister had children together, and they were pawned off as Baratheons who were supposed to be in line for the king. And back then, it was your lineage for the king was lineage for the king. That's why Joffrey became king, and that was a terrific arc with Joffrey being the bad guy. But they did it was a war story. So Robb Stark.
So it's Robb Stark's. He's trying to grow his army, and then you also on the other side. Remember, you guys, we have Stannis and the Red Priestess,
right? Also
in that season, trying to also plan their attack to take over the kingdom as well. So you see these two powers rising.
But at that point, you still have Renly Baratheon is still around
exactly.
At that point. Yeah. So like, there's just so these families were just so rich. I mean, during the early parts of the show.
So season 2 is known for, and again, so I apologize, I just had to look it up, but it's considered
You're not forgiven, by the way.
War of the Five Kings. So again, everybody trying to now, go for the actual throne themselves and everybody's main family. So then all of a sudden you got all these people that are going for king, which is causing even more drama and, eventually having to be eliminated and taken out.
Yep.
Oh God, I don't want to go towards the end.
All while in the background is upcoming threat that was actually introduced as the very first scene we ever had in Game of Thrones, which was the introduction to the White Walkers, and that was such a slow build up, early on as far as the first couple seasons, but they did touch on it for like the first couple seasons, and you could tell like. This is actually going to become bigger than any of these little family quarrels that everyone's having. Like these little political wars are not going to be nothing once this ultimate threat comes. And yeah, that's where the show's phrase kept coming. This whole winter is coming, and how that was being pushed by. And then they fucked it up, yeah. And then Jon Snow for how many seasons keeps saying winter is coming, because it doesn't really matter who's the proper, who's going to be king or whatever. It doesn't matter because this threat is going to overrule them all. So, yeah.
God damn it, why do you get me all emotional like this? Yes, they fucked it up. God.
Yeah.
All right. Let's not jump the gun. And that's me saying it, because if it was up to me, I'd just say,
I know
screw
your
this
heart rate's
entire
up.
episode. Let's just talk about the last season. Let me vent. Let me get it all out.
No,
But
let's speed
restraint. Okay. So, Mike, you bring up a great point. We got Jon Snow at the wall, right? So this is the other things that are happening besides the normal threat, within
You're listening
Westeros.
to Bottled Up by WTF.
Yeah, bottled up emotions. Drinking therapy. So yeah, so we got him, okay. And then I'm trying to remember also, oh man, there was something else that was big within the second season about
everything was big. It's Game of Thrones. That's what they fucked up.
No,
it was all terrific. I mean, they captured Jaime Lannister. They had him.
Let's just focus on what we loved about the first 4 seasons. How about that?
Okay.
How about that? I mean, let's talk about the wall for a sec, okay?
Okay. So
the Night's Watch is I mean, yes, it's where all the bastards go to just, do this duty that no one else really wants to do, and they just
And you
assign
can
all the
also
bastards.
volunteer it the way that
Yeah.
Jon Snow volunteers for it.
Yeah, but ironically, he's a bastard. So, but at that time,
Weird. That leads to nothing.
Yeah, I mean, them at that wall was also not just them protecting from, at the time, they didn't really know about the White Walkers. They were actually protecting the wall from the wildlings coming through, right? So even
because the White Walkers were known as a myth.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was literally just something they talked about. They didn't really know. Like only a couple people actually had were eyewitnesses to seeing White Walkers.
Well, and they literally the first episode was that guy. He had his head cut off by Ned Stark for saying, "I saw the White Walker."
Yep, and he killed him, but he had his doubts.
He did. Ned Stark. Nedard.
Night gathers. Night gathers, and now my watch begins, guys. That's all I know. So on the other side, we have Daenerys, right? And we see her character development with the Dothraki, right? That's happening full with Drago, right?
Yeah.
And so we're seeing that development of her building slowly more confidence, really kind of starting to get the idea of being a queen and having people to rule over. So you're really seeing somebody who was very timid and not in her own within the first season, and now
literally a slave. She's a slave.
Yeah,
she's
literally.
sold off. She's sold off to be the Khaleesi for Khal Drogo and his army for the Dothraki.
God, best decision ever.
I mean, she had no position of power early on in that show. Like she was literally just a slave, so to speak.
Yeah. So to see her go from that to what she really soonly becomes, just within the second season, and then obviously leading on from there.
No way, dude. That girl fucking eats a horse's heart in front of everybody. She douses her own brother. She doesn't douse it, but she watches and is okay with her own brother being doused in gold.
That's because he was the worst.
He was the worst, absolutely. But she smiles at the end.
Yeah,
of that
she had
shit.
a grin on her face, which is totally like foreshadowing of like
weird.
how
so did
her
I.
rage might actually ensue later on.
Everybody did.
Yeah, like,
everybody was smiling.
Like she doesn't really have any whereabouts to show any mercy. So.
Yeah.
No, and that was, I mean,
good foresight.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Great foresight. She was a fucking badass.
So,
sorry.
And then within the second season, again, just we're touching on kind of the bigger things, reminiscing. This is when she now gets the dragon eggs as well, right?
First season, yeah.
So that was
the end of the first season. That's the cliffhanger. Her walking out of the fire, where I actually don't know I honestly forget the reason of her. Yeah, Drogon dies. Drogo dies, and like she literally.
So they blame her for that. So they tried to burn.
No.
Right?
It was a witch. So
a witch tried to save him, but she made the agreement.
No. He's stabbed. She brings in a quote healer of a village that they all pillaged, and the healer then curses Drogon. Not Drogon. That's the dragon.
Drogo.
Drogo. Thank you. Curses him and kills him basically, and her unborn child at the same time.
That's
and
right.
so she can't save anybody, and she has to see her unborn child and Khal Drogo die in front of her face. So which leaves her just be. I mean, perpetually actually leads up to her being very mad.
Now, does she walk into the fire where they're burning his body?
Yes,
I think
exactly.
she does. She
No, that's
literally
exactly.
walks in. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
With the
obviously-
eggs. It was kind of a
Yep.
like a fate. She was like, I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna take these.
She's like, I
It
heard
ends.
a long
She
time ago
give this a
that,
go.
yeah,
If it doesn't work, it doesn't
Targaryens-
work.
Targaryens are fireproof, so this is fine. I'm going to try this.
Yeah, and if the
Which
eggs actually
leads me
break
to-
open, can you do like a scramble or like an over easy situation? Like, what's the eggs all about?
Which leads me to Jon Snow being a Targaryen in season 8.
Go on.
Well, spoilers.
You're the one who said you didn't want to jump around, Matt, and here you are jumping around more than
I know, right?
Got the cat Kerrigan right there.
Somebody's had a little too much whiskey and has opened the floodgates, and I like it.
No, Game of Thrones passionate.
Well,
Passionate pound. Okay, passionate pound.
big thing about these eggs had been around for a while, right? And they weren't hatching. The big deal was that they hatched, and it was because of her that she had some unknown power, magic, whatever that literally hatched these eggs. And I think that's
they were fossilized beforehand.
Yeah, I think that's why everyone literally looked to her as almost like a god, with like godlike powers at that point. So that's how she inherited the Dothraki army from that point, and that was coming out of season 1. That was her first recruitment of her first big army, and honestly, her tirade that she was going to start, throughout the series. And yeah, that's what leads into season 2. But I honestly, do you guys remember how season 2 ended? Because all I can remember from this point is like the big thing that happens next is the Red Wedding, but I think that was season 3.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact way it ended in season 2.
I think season 2 was just more character building and just like I think Renly eventually dies Baratheon. And so then I think
from
that
the
might,
ghost, from the red priest.
Yeah, there's a lot of Stannis, being involved with the Melisandre and whatnot.
Was that season 2?
I think it might have been.
Sorry,
God,
Game of Thrones fans.
Don't apologize. They're listening
we're
to
not-
us.
Yeah, we're not Game of Thrones experts, okay? We just
Yeah.
really thoroughly enjoyed the show, and we're just really displeased to see how it ended because it deserved a better fair treatment at the end.
We're going the
deserved
long way to
better
the end.
everything. God. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
No, see, now I'm boiling now. I'm gonna
That's it.
simmer.
Fuck it. They should have just held off until George R. R. Martin actually released the books.
Are we gonna go
actual
just to
material.
the end right now?
No. So, but
No.
let's just kind of like speed up the process. So, without going into too much detail, but the things that we liked about what happened. So, like the bigger picture is Daenerys picks up steam by picking up army after army. She's going into places.
Love it.
She's freeing slaves because
Dracarys.
Yeah, she. I feel like she's very intelligent. So one, she wants to be this, big power figure. But she also wants to do both. So okay. So we see her wreck shop. You see the dragons. They're babies, right? So we see them from just developing sense from babies to teens to full on just monsters.
Oh yeah. They really take their time with the whole dragon aging process. Like you don't see these dragons really kick ass until season 4 or 5.
Yeah, way later down the line. I mean, they really just baby them, and that could be because of budgetary reasons within how much it costs to get them on screen with CGI.
I think literally has to do with pacing, right? Like the show was so well paced early on, and then
you couldn't make her that powerhouse right off the bat.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a reason why the show was so well paced early on because it was character driven early on. It was more like road trip early on. It was Jaime and Brienne. It was Arya and the Hound. It was so early character driven early on that the CGI didn't need to be there. It wasn't until you got to Daenerys and their dragons growing and building, the direwolves growing and building. I wish they focused their money someplace else. I don't know. It's spread it out a little bit more.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, they have so many characters to deal with that they really had to stretch a lot out. And some of it was exciting, and some of it was just plain on storytelling with just the development of a bigger story coming down the line, which is how you're supposed to do it, right? in some aspects. I mean, if you want something that's going to be lasting 6 to 8 years, I mean, you got to take your time, which again segues into not taking your time after 2 years of time to do the last season. But again, see how everything is kind of just flowing back to that. Horrible. But so again, big story for Daenerys. She kicks ass. She goes in. She frees slaves. She obviously has dragons that become ginormous, monstrous, freaking powerful beings, which is, kudos to her. You see a lot of people within power positions that are going for the Iron Throne, either being betrayed, made deals with other people, or
a lot
just
of politics.
A lot of politics all of a sudden come into it, right?
Yes. A lot of drama. I mean, it was almost like the most adult version of a soap opera you would ever get. I mean, I want to say that what was really cool from the first season to how it honestly kind of repeated itself in season 3 was it built up Rob Stark's character, and then, at that point, did it again. It did the same thing. Like, we were going to kill this guy and slaughter his mom as well in this. And this is honestly the Red Wedding.
Ooh.
The Red Wedding was quite the turning point in the series. And honestly, this is honestly where they take one of the bigger choices where they actually kill off Rob Stark's wife, who is actually still alive in the books, and Catelyn Stark, who gets brought back. She is killed in the wedding, but she gets brought back
Lady Stoneheart.
Right? Lady Stoneheart, and that would have been such a more interesting, thing to have. But the thing is like they had so much source material back then to pull from. Like for the average fan, they wouldn't actually see this start to drift off from the books. Like there was just like those books were so dense with material that I don't feel like it really impacted the show. But like, yeah, it would have been cool, but. You know what I mean? Like early on, they kind of had enough to deal with at that point.
And this is where I agree with all you book readers is that, man, they fucked it up. I'm sorry. Read the books. Read the books. Continue the books. I hope he continues the books and leaves it with a satisfying ending, because he did not leave that with a satisfying ending. Lady Stoneheart is a part of it.
Yeah.
Everything is a part of it.
Yeah, and we can nitpick it all day. I mean, if you compare just the little details that, in my opinion, wouldn't have costed a lot of money to just do little small details that I know for just fan service alone would have gone a long way.
I mean, these guys fucked up the whole way.
Well,
so you guys would have liked Tyrion to be having to miss the whole show.
Sorry, you cut out. What was that?
It said you would have liked Tyrion to have half his nose ripped off through the remainder of the show.
Sure, and then we could have been like Chris Farley in Dirty Work, and we could have
Saigon Horror.
She ripped my nose off. Yeah,
she took my bloody nose.
Are you going to be playing something pretty hardcore? Yeah, G7.
Like pina colada.
Dude, you just pressed G8.
With a mouth around my cock. That's how I want to go out in the world.
There's so many great lines in this show.
Yeah.
There really are.
No, there really are.
So we can dive right into Red Wedding, guys. Like, I mean, for me,
awesome. So shocking. So visceral.
Brutal scenes I think I've ever seen in really any TV show.
Yeah.
Just the ruthlessness alone. Like, besides the visuals, I mean, a lot of these people who've been watching these shows, they watch The Sopranos or Walking Dead. I mean, you see graphic stuff from other places, but it was just the inconsideration of life. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm stabbing this person. It's like, hey, I'm going to stab your mom. I'm going to stab your pregnant wife in the stomach where the baby is.
A lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was a very intimate kill. It was brutal to watch.
Brutal to watch. And just feeling for the characters, right? I mean, after that, I just remember the internet, which isn't even what it was. I mean, back then, even what it is now, and it broke the internet. I mean,
it was everywhere.
It was everywhere.
I mean, at that point, I honestly, that's what probably got me onto the show, because at that point, I wasn't actually watching the show. I had heard about something called The Red Wedding, and everyone just like, you need to watch Game of Thrones. You just need to start the show, start watching it. And that event alone probably is what hooked me to watch the show.
Yep.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I know it was everybody but the people that read the books. They knew it was coming.
Yeah.
They just and they just needed to see it visually. The people that read the books, I had a good coworker who was playing coy, who didn't want to give you too much, and led into the Red Wedding. And when I came to him, he was like, "How much did that blow you away?" I was like, I wept. I cried.
Yeah, right. I mean, it was hard to watch all the way around, man. And then right after the Red Wedding, we see a direwolf get killed. I mean, they just took it so far.
Well, you see Arya not get there. She was so close.
But again, guys, that's Game of Thrones. Like that happening, that shock value, that awe. That is
like we're building up to
reason.
something.
Doesn't Rob get beheaded again? Doesn't he get beheaded?
Yeah, remember they
switched
the bodies of the direwolf on Rob's body.
Yes, that's right. Oh, brutal. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just
very jarring.
Very jarring. Very jarring. I mean, it's just one of those things too, though. It was like, again, the shock value for me brought me back. Like by that time too, I'm not gonna say, oh, you know, if that wasn't a good episode, I was done. Like I was gonna watch it continually anyway. Like I was already hooked by the Red Wedding, but that just made it even. That was just like a boost, right? It was just like, holy shit. We got the first season, the main character, Ed Stark, killed, beheaded. Then you have these new slew of characters, the building development, really just young men. I wouldn't even say Rob was like a man. He was still very much a boy filling a man's role.
But it was the miscalculation of the family that kept you also involved. Like the Starks are actually really dismantled because you have the King of the North dead. You have the Queen of the North, I mean, Catelyn Stark, dead. So that was a great part of that season. It was just shocking because where was it going to go? Where were we going to continue from there?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's where the show. I mean, what was really cool was that at that point, they really start to build up the the Joffrey character even more. Like they take it to another level, right? Because I believe
he like Tyrion lured somebody to like the bedpost, right?
Yes, like he actually tortures one of the hookers in one season or whatever.
From the north.
Yeah, from the north, and then obviously, he's married to Sansa and starts tormenting her, and that leads then to the purple
Tyrion married
wedding.
to Sansa at that point, or was Joffrey married to Sansa?
It was Joffrey first, then I believe Tyrion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Tyrion to Ramsay. Right?
Yeah, because then Tyrion takes, or was it Middlefinger or Littlefinger?
Middle.
Yeah, Middlefinger. Yeah.
Sometimes I just
Sam.
like giving Littlefinger the middle finger.
Yeah.
Sam.
What a piece of shit character. Oh, he was so good though. Like that's the thing. Like,
he was
such
so
a piece
mischievous,
of shit,
man. Like
so mischievous.
And you know what? He was one, I would say, out of like the three characters with him, Tyrion, and then evil, Dr. Evil, bald guy. What's his name?
The spider.
Yeah, man. Like those three knew how to play the game. They were so intelligent, and they knew to trust no one. He was one of my favorite actual villains in the whole show. I thought Littlefinger was pretty damn clever.
Yeah. I honestly wonder how much different Varys would have been if they actually had Aegon Targaryen in the show, since he's alive in the books. Because apparently, that's Varys's big play, is to literally kind of retake the throne for the Targaryens by.
Varys would have chosen Bran.
Oh god.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh god. We keep going to the end, guys.
I know, we can't help it. I'm sorry.
I feel like Bran wouldn't have chosen Bran if he wasn't.
Let's not even go over Bran, okay? Like I'd be fine not talking about Bran the whole time on this podcast, because what a waste of space.
No.
Oh man.
Truly an important character.
Truly
I mean
important character until the end.
Yeah, for what was probably flushed out of the books, did not ever come to fruition at the end of the show, and that was just
apparently it was
disappointing.
A year off served him well.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
Yeah.
By the way, sorry, segue. How hard I really miss. I wish Hodor was a zombie and Bran had to kill him.
Okay, so and that's something else that we brought off the other day as well. There was just missed opportunities. So I know we keep saying, let's talk about the positives, but everybody who's listening to the show, they're big fans of the show, so they really know the positives. They know why they like it, right? I mean, there's a tons of positives of this show. It was around for 8 years for a reason, or 10 years, but 8 seasons or whatever, because they're the breaks in between. But everybody has their own reason for liking it, but they flat out missed opportunities within this series. And one of them is exactly what you just said. There are times that White Walkers came back where you could have easily pulled from earlier characters that were killed off to make a more emotional kill or just another kind of just emotional scene within, the later seasons. And one of them absolutely was Bran and Hodor. I would have loved, even in the Battle of Winterfell, I would have loved to see a freaking just messed up White Walker Hodor running through the crowd, just wrecking people.
I'm so glad we jumped in time. Because even the direwolf, what was his name? It was Mynir was Arya's. What was Bran's direwolf name?
Oh, you mean Bran's direwolf? I don't remember Bran's direwolf. Do you, Mike?
I don't remember.
Exactly. Mynira? No, I just said that. But no.
Summer.
Summer?
Yeah.
Right.
Summer is the direwolf. Bonded with Bran. Yeah.
Well, Sam, no, again, you're right. Missed opportunity. Missed opportunity is the definition of 7 and 6 seasons. Missed opportunity.
Well, and 8.
Yeah, sorry.
Well,
seven and 8.
Most of all,
I'll actually go 6, 7, and 8. Yeah, most of all 8. That's the pinnacle of missed opportunity.
I'll count 7 just because of how it ended. That finale basically, told everyone that, okay, that's it, man. Like, Westeros is about to get fucked. Like,
yeah, she takes the
White Walkers are coming, and there's no stopping them. The wall is broken. It's terrifying. He has a dragon. It's an ice dragon. Holy shit! That's it. Like, we're gonna start going through and just running rampant through, Westeros up to King's Landing, where hopefully, that's where we'd have the final showdown. But yeah,
I definitely didn't mind that at the very end. It just from that point gave you a little taste of the fucking power that
I thought that finale was just awesome. Like, I was so excited going into the season because of that finale.
Yeah, and just there was iconic scenes for me that I remember through that season. Even when they had to go and get Jon Snow and rescue him, and he was in the middle of all those White Walkers, and then you see the Night King and Jon, make eye contact when he's drifting away in the boat, and then you just see all the dead people rise, and then all of a sudden come up right to the Night King, just all staring at him, and escape. Like, I was like, oh shit, man! Like, even that alone, he's got numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. That season alone also had the biggest reveal of all, right? That Snow is not a bastard. He actually has the first right to the throne. He's a Targaryen. Like, it's crazy to think like how it goes back in time and shows like that great flashback scene of seeing a young Ned Stark entrusting this secret upon himself. And
which, by the way, if you go back and look up that scene in Lightsabers, it's terrific. Go on.
I've not seen that, but I bet that's
just a plug. Go on.
Nice.
Okay.
But yeah, that was really awesome, right? Because it honestly gives you some context to think about, the earlier seasons where Catelyn Stark actually, treats Ned a little indifferent at times because she's always thought that he had cheated on her, and that he wasn't loyal. So. It actually shows, like, wow, what a secret he held together for what, I guess Jon Snow at that point is 20 something years old or whatever. Crazy. And he died with that, so quite the honorable man.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. I actually didn't think about that at all, but you're totally right. And for any of people who are listening that are like tremendous Game of Thrones fans, like I stated from the beginning, we're not even touching even really the top of this show. There's so many details of other characters that try to be powerhouses in the show.
Honestly, we don't even have enough time in one podcast.
We just don't. There's just too many moving parts, too many characters that were brought in, killed off.
But that was the beauty of the show. The show had so many characters with such rich backgrounds, and it just came to a point where they had to just kill off people or write them off and not really show any conclusion to any character. And that's what leads us into season 8.
Okay, so let's just perfect segue. So talking about the history of Game of Thrones, and one of the reasons why I liked it is it was very unpredictable. I would say unpredictable is probably a great word to describe it because you never knew who was going to be the next person to die. It left it open to the point where it's like he could be your favorite character, he could be fan favorite on TV, but that doesn't mean anything in the show. They can be killed off next Sunday, no problems, no question asked. And this is where season 8 really bugged me. The first 2 episodes of season 8, I didn't really mind. I felt like they were just kind of just normal storytelling, kind of getting you ready for what's, bigger battle to come, which I have no problem with. I like
7 and 8, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, but it was just all building towards something bigger. So I don't mind that because I'm just so pumped for that next big, right? I thought I had so many issues with the Battle of Winterfell. And from just the filming alone, the score on it, the undertones of blue, that was just very hard visually to even see.
Could you even watch the episode? It was so dark.
We watched it. We had to mess with the
4K
tent.
OLED television. Like,
yeah, me
I should
too.
be able to see anything. Like, there shouldn't have a problem. And I was like, oh my god, my black levels are starting to lose. Like I'm actually seeing pixelation. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
No, and I will go with I'm upset about the first 2 episodes. That battle should have been going on episode 2. They got everybody past that wall. I mean, the way the dead are marching, if they said they can only march day and night, like they have no energy feed. They're in Winterfell fucking a day later, and they should be able to take it over a day later. I mean, it's
well, that's exactly what we're saying though. They're filling these episodes. They're just putting fillers in just to stretch it out. Are they good fillers? Not necessarily.
No, I would say no.
But they're fillers nonetheless, just to get to 6 episodes, which was bullshit, really, in my opinion, because I think the season should have been fucking 8 to 10 episodes.
They could have done it easily.
And I feel like they could have done exactly what you said. They could have sped up the battle. It could have started in season 2. You could have had more actual storyline, and you could have drawn things out, and you couldn't have rushed it. I mean, you shouldn't have rushed it.
There's some article out there that actually says that HBO was actually okay with giving them more episodes. So I don't know if the onus is on
thanks,
either
Mike.
the writers or
I'm going to drink more because of that and just be even more pissed off.
Seriously.
Yeah. Because I heard that and I was like, okay, was that more so the directors trying to push this shit out the door so that they could go jump onto Disney with Star Wars? Yeah, and I'm like, what exactly did that mean per se? Or maybe it was just save budget for the prequel series, right? Like they're going to be working on that now. So I don't know.
Now,
but the way that episode ended, it should have ended dark, grim, with no hope. And the Battle of Winterfell, like the whole tone of that was just like it was great leading up until obviously the end. When you look at the White Walkers and how they were built up for so long, for 7 seasons. I feel like their battle or their fight should have ended close to King's Landing. Like you literally look at the map of Westeros and you see the wall, and they literally go the distance of from there past Last Hearth to Winterfell. And at that point, you're like, okay, in real world geography here, that's probably like, I don't know, San Francisco to Santa Barbara. Like they didn't get very far, and Westeros is huge. So it's just very disappointing for such a big buildup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the camp of I am very excited to see the rest of the books. I can't wait to see the way that these what I understand the first 6 seasons were to what the last books were, because I really actually I'm probably not going to read, but I'm not going to read the first handful of books seeing the series. But I definitely want to read the way that he ends it.
Yeah, because it's already been confirmed that they're not finished the same way. I mean, he's already very much gone about and said these are going to be completely different.
No, but in the same regard, he did give these guys the benefit of the doubt. He gave these guys an example of how he wanted to end it, and I get that he wanted to end it in the way that.
Well, he gave them rights to finish it the way that he. I mean, he didn't really have any say on it. Also,
But no, he also gave them the idea of how he wanted to end it. He wanted to end them with no house is good or evil. Lannisters are evil throughout, but they might not be the bad guy at the end. He wanted that dichotomy of. So I get that too, but I just know it's going to end differently when it comes to the books. So I'm more interested in the way the books are ending now. I'm piqued interest in how to see the dichotomy of the show and the books. And I will read the books more so now than in the future. than I have in the past.
I gotta say, I think it's kind of a smart ploy, really, too, to the fact, and maybe it was by accident, maybe it was on purpose. Who knows? Only R.R. Martin would know. But I think more people.
No, it's on purpose.
I think more people are going to purchase the book and read the book because they know it's different.
Oh yeah, this definitely helped generate even more sales.
This last season, right? I mean, so many people hated this last season. They want a different ending, and
it's on purpose.
I'm gonna get this book. And I'm going to get the ending I frickin' wanted, and I know it's going to be much better than this crappy one I just got.
Or you don't. That's the thing.
No, it is. You can't say it's not. This was the worst ending possible. Anything would be better. If a dog just showed up in the last scene and took a dump, I would be like, that's way better than what I just watched for the last hour and a half. Like,
I don't know about that, but yeah, maybe the White Walker's just killing everyone and fade to black. That's it.
I mean, you could have kept it exactly the same, and you could have just showed Jon up back at the wall. Then you could have showed, Daenerys' dragon holding her like dead body up in the snow, and her eyes could have opened up from a dead, and they could have been bright blue, and she could have been the new Nightwing or something. Just anything like that would have been just something else to give us. And we didn't get anything. I mean, I feel a zero closure. I don't feel good about anything that we got. The little mistakes. I mean, I know everybody's getting a kick out of it, and they're making memes and everything else about like the Starbucks cup, or I guess it was confirmed that it wasn't a Starbucks cup, and then the coffee company that it was got all pissed off because Starbucks got all the credit.
Which I also do believe is a shitty part of this whole thing, is that you can put millions of dollars into something, yet you miss something so small.
You have
and so obvious.
Years.
Yeah, it's so obvious that it's like I can be so disappointed in the storyline, and then you also disappoint me in the editing.
Yeah. I mean, you get this guy whose job is to go and actually go through the footage. Fans catch it from watching it
scene
once.
by scene. Your job is to go into the editing.
And then you got the next episode, that has a water bottle.
My only argument to that is that if they had multiple different scenes set up for different outcomes, and maybe in post, someone obviously had missed something, because maybe it wasn't a finalized shot of what they were actually going to go with.
Yeah, and you find out later too that people do totally film. Happened. Yeah, and people film things way different timings. I mean, I see when people film in credit scenes, sometimes that's the first thing they film.
Yeah,
like the shawarma scene in Marvel.
And you want to know something? I just watched the docu-series of actually season 8. Like, it was a 2-hour documentary, and everyone from different departments was actually saying that this was the most ambitious schedule for season 8. Like, they were basically saying like the schedule was very, very tight. So I'm not surprised there were slip-ups for what they were trying to do in such a short period of time. Like, they literally said like the bandwidth that they had compared to different seasons was, this one was like almost like, I don't want to say doubled, but maybe even more than doubled. But yeah.
Again, and I just coming from a place of just, I don't know, distaste for the last season, but I still think like, yeah, okay, there's going to be mishaps, but I also know like you're a big network like HBO, like, and you're all professionals, you're making a ton of money, like just get those little details down. Like it shouldn't be that difficult. I mean, really, at the end of the day,
well,
like
they already re-edited all that footage and took out the cups like that. You can't find that now. You will never be able to get that.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
except for online.
People who took stills, man. That's it.
No, either stills, or if you torrented the actual live stream of the show, you'll get that. But yeah,
or if you recorded the episode like I did, I have it recorded.
Exactly. Like that's it. If you
Nerd
have
alert.
if you have a live
Damn
viewing of it, you're not going to get it. So, I mean, I think that stuff is it's
what about
it's totally.
Other things that they missed within just like the small things they could have done that would have been awesome. Kind of like what Matt was saying about Bran and Hodor. How awesome would it be when Sansa and Tyrion are in the freaking tomb in the Battle of Winterfell? How hard would it have been to just have like a headless Ed Stark or Lady, I was going to call her Lady Stoneheart, but Catelyn Stark come out of their tombs and have to make like this devastating Sansa kill, one of her parents.
Yeah, that would have been really dramatic. That would have been awesome.
Super dramatic, super cool. Like, I don't know. That should be easy. There's thousands of these things running around, and you tell me you just couldn't resurrect 2 characters that should be in that tomb to make that more dramatic than it was? Like, I didn't know if they were going to play a Barry White song and start making out, like, right there behind that little tomb. Like, I I didn't even know. It was
I mean, I also see it as a poor choice for the characters themselves, because if they really understood what the White Walkers were, and they should have at that point, they wouldn't have been in the crypt to begin with. But I digress.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I mean, you're really just setting yourself up for just death.
I highly doubt that will ever be in any of his his books that he's going to finish. And
I feel like the ending should have been Pennywise the clown comes out of left field and just starts freaking wrecking shop, creating so much fear.
We're derailing.
Sorry, it was such a horrible season. I just wanted to just push it towards something I really enjoy.
Right.
Hey, Long Con, what do you think that he intended the books to be 100% better, so he ruined the ending of the show to make his books more sellable?
Well, it was confirmed that he didn't write the last season or even have anything to do with it for that matter. It was a completely different writer for the last 2 seasons. He maybe gave up like plot points, but that was about it. I mean, he wasn't even touching it.
I mean, season 8 alone doesn't even matter because, in the context of the books, I mean, the decisions that were made past in season 5 and on are all going to be in that book as well, because there are other key characters that are still alive that we haven't even discussed in season 5 that obviously he will address in the book. So I know we're just going to hammer on season 8, but he might completely change what is our perception of season 5.
Well, yeah. So look at the characters that are still alive in the books. Come 5 through 7. You got Stannis Baratheon.
Yep.
Right. Shireen Baratheon.
Yeah, his daughter's still alive.
Yeah, Jon Snow remains dead currently in the books. Right.
Yep.
But
Ramsay's still alive.
Ramsay Snow is still alive. Yep. Catelyn Stark is killed in the books, but comes back, like we already stated, as Lady Stoneheart. But that's still a character that's, her zombie version that's still very much around. Walder Frey is still around. We had him get killed off by Arya, her first, real main kill after going through her transition of the faceless man.
By the way, great actor character to just portray that was a perfect cast.
Who, Walter Frey?
Yeah, just want to murder him so hard.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing that Game of Thrones did the best, is that they cast it perfectly to where I just want to murder you.
I mean, we didn't even touch on how amazing of an actor Joffrey was. Talk about a guy that got legitimate death threats on a daily basis. And
he quit acting. He quit acting because of the role.
And Matt, you're right. Done. During the interviews of stuff, I'm just like, man, this guy is like a genuinely just nice person.
This is the nicest. This is the sweet little boy that in Batman Begins that Batman saves. That's that actor. And now everyone just associates him with Joffrey, and they can't stand him. But that just goes to show you how a great actor he was. Oh, I mean, compliments to him. I mean, I'm sure it made him nervous. I really hope he comes back. Whoever casted that part was just brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. But they kind of destroyed his career for at least the next 10 years. Well, yeah, I mean, he's a complete... Yeah. You can't tell the future. Come on. Yeah. So look at the other people that are alive, guys. You got Hodor that's still alive in the books. You got Marjorie, Loras, Mace Tyrell, Alenia Tyrell, and Littlefinger. Oh, she was such a badass, the old lady Tyrell. Oh, she was cool, man. Me too. She was a great character. She was awesome. God damn it, they ruined everything. So you see all these characters, that's how much is gonna change in those books, whether or not these characters are gonna live and die. There's a lot at stake in the books. And that's the only reason I bring those up, is because there's so much material to still work with. Yeah. And the HBO that took those characters away, obviously, and that story arc is gone. I mean, those die as well as the characters, obviously. And like I said, that makes me more excited to read those books than it is to see where the show has gone. Knowing where the show has gone, I really want to read those. I want to see how it ends. Is Bran still the king? Who knows? Yeah. One big difference I'd like to talk about real quick was that in the book, Targaryen is actually alive. What do you guys think about? Mike, can you repeat yourself, bud? You cut out just a little bit. Oh, one big thing from the books that they did not have in the show was that Prince Aegon Targaryen is alive in the books, and I honestly want to get your guys' thoughts of why do you think they made that choice for the show? I mean, was it more so just to focus on Daenerys, or maybe it was just they didn't want to cast another possible lead actor that would play a bigger role later in the series? I go it's because of Daenerys. I want to say they go with the feminist take.
which is
Yeah.
absolutely 100% worthy. It played out beautifully.
Yeah. I think
Obviously
that
till the
sold
end.
better to the audience.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
I completely
we all
agree.
played to that. Yeah.
Well, when she season 1 walked out of that fire with the dragons, boom, you got yourself a series. And as I said, it was her walking on the dragons and Ned with his head chopped off. I mean that's catalyst the whole thing until 8 seasons later.
You know, I think Game of Thrones is so interesting too. You guys, like, how many adults before Game of Thrones would you say, just, you know, not your people that go to Comic-Con and people who appreciate, you know, fantasy, but how many people who didn't appreciate fantasy got into a fantasy-based show? I mean,
Not even
we're talking about
fantasy-based
dragons
show.
and we're talking about magic like it's nothing, but this is like all just total Fantasyland stuff that a lot of people didn't really care for before they brought it in the way that they presented it to us. It got attraction.
It's not even fantasy based. It's vulgar. It is blood. It is.
Well, it's vulgar, but fantasy is completely
tits and ass.
different. You got dragons and magic. That is fantasy.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's
the dialogue early on was very rich. I mean, these characters, when they conversated, they could carry on scenes for over 5 to 10 minutes, and it was intense dialogue. That drifted away later on throughout the show.
Sure did.
No, but the audience itself is everybody. I mean, I could talk to multitudes of different people in the office, outside, on the street, walking the dog. I mean, it was everybody. It was a continuity fact.
It appealed to a lot of different.
It appealed to a lot of people, and again, like I said before, it wasn't just a storyline. It was the fact that it was TNA. The fact that it was slitting throats of young children and women, and it was everybody still continued to watch it after the Red Wedding, after the beheadings, after rape scenes. It was a cultural phenomenon which is never probably going to reach again. Well, I say never. So far.
Yeah, maybe within that genre, it won't happen again for a while, but
only on HBO.
Yeah.
Fuck Netflix.
Good plug.
I mean, Game of Thrones on, let's say, AMC, because I go back and forth and be like, I wish Walking Dead was on AMC.
But don't worry, guys. Don't get rid of your subscription.
What did Breaking Bad do? Was that AMC?
That was AMC, yeah. But that was more. I mean, that realm was very fleshed out, and like it didn't need to be that vulgar or anything. And I mean, there was graphic material in there as well. But
hell yeah, there was.
Yeah, I mean.
But would have added or subtracted from the actual show itself if it had more vulgarness to it.
Actually, I don't think that would have done much for it, to be honest. I think they did such a great job with what they were given. Like, we still got a lot of just hard to watch visuals that I don't think they even needed to take it much further than what we got. That's just my opinion. Well,
and that's exactly what I'm talking about going into Game of Thrones. They didn't need to take us into that big dramatic fire burning. Everything is just going up in flames. They could have just continued with the Daenerys going crazy, and it would have given me exactly what I wanted, and still could have ended the way I wanted. It even ended the way it did, and I would have been pleased by it.
Yeah, there was just a lot of things they could have done just to kind of wrap it up with a nice little tidy bow, and they just missed a lot of.
I'm totally fine with the arc they picked for Daenerys because I feel like that was just,
Me too.
I have zero complaints, especially early on.
It kind of goes along the lines of what the Harvey Dent's character said in Dark Knight. You either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And,
I haven't heard it.
I haven't heard. Yeah, and that's honestly, I feel like the character arc that we saw for Daenerys.
And that's our segue into Batman. All right, let's get into it. God, a much better movie that I want to talk about.
Yeah, it's my best trilogy ever. I love that trilogy.
No, I agree with you, man. I have no complaints about Daenerys, man. I thought her character, and again, this is her acting her ass off, and she's just following the writing. So you can't be mad really at the actress herself. I think as an actress, she did wonderful. Yeah. And she's just doing what she's told when it comes to the writing part of it. So, everything was great, and I thought she did good until the very, very end of what they kind of made her. Actually, I don't even mind how they made her like the Mad Queen. Again, like you said, Matt, I don't mind that. Like, I don't mind the destruction of that. But I do mind just again, I felt like they were trying to make something dramatic with John stabbing her and then it ending the way it did, and it just didn't land big enough.
Well, it circles always back around to season 8 and season 7. The way it just felt rushed. I mean, you even get the John and the crew went north to get the White Walker to trap him and bring him back. It just felt rushed. It was like the books were such a character driven. Yeah. The road trip wasn't so important that then the CGI of it. What show in recent history paid their actors too much and then had to continue on with its tail? Is it like a Friends thing? Is it a Seinfeld thing? Where they just couldn't continue because the network was paying their actors too much and the CGI was too much. That's how it felt. It felt like it started so genuine and then just ended just too much. And they had to speed up the storyline.
Yeah, I mean, to take your main antagonist from season 1 and to kill her off from poor construction quality, and just have the building land on her as she's warmly embracing her, brother / lover.
I didn't mind that, but it was just so soon. No, it's fine.
I minded that very much.
I have no problem with Jamie doing that. If you gave him an episode before to leave Brienne and then build up into that. Maybe he has a conversation beforehand without meeting her in that fucking map room.
I don't mind Jamie's arc of going there. That seems more like what he would do. I mind the way that they went out. I mean, it's just you get all these epic deaths that we've just already talked about with Ed Stark's death in the first season, that last episode. You get the Red Wedding. You get all these fucking epic murder killings that just pull on your heartstrings. Some of them you're happy they die. Some of them you're depressed. And this
Cersei's death was fucking lame as hell. It was so lame because there was no confrontation with Daenerys. There was no dialogue of like them having some, I mean, it was literally just Tyrion the episode before, talking to his sister, and basically we're seeing, what's her face, Missandei.
Missandei.
Missandei. Just a very anticlimactic death for a character that probably deserved, some more as far as how she was going to go out. My also big gripe too is also Arya's skills not being used more outside of her assassinating Walter Frey.
Yeah. Agree.
I mean, you need to tell me you just sneak up on the Night King and you're not, let's say, I know you can put on a face of anyone that is previously dead. So why can't you come as a White Walker at some point or something? Like, I don't understand how she was just able to sneak up on him like that. That was just fucking poorly written.
Yeah, and you're mentioning the last season. This could have gone on much further throughout the entire series after she actually leaves and acquires these abilities and these skills.
Yeah,
I mean, after Walter Frey. I mean, she uses it once, and then all of a sudden it's cool, it's a surprise, it's a shock, it's really well shot. And then we just never see it again, which is really disappointing because throughout the entire series after that, I was like, oh, she's going to come in dressed as this dude, and this guy's going to be toast. And then all of a sudden, obviously,
you don't see it.
That never happens. And it's just, it's one of those things for me. It's just an easy thing. Like, you've already done it. I mean, it shouldn't be anything having to do with financial anything, obligated, whatever. It should just be something that you should be doing. Like, you set it up for that, to be that person, and you do it once or twice.
And I'm fine with Arya killing the Night King. That's totally fine. That's the thing is, it's the setup for it. It was poorly written. I feel like it was just a fan service because everyone loves Arya. We're gonna make her kill the most pivotal villain at this point. And it just didn't had no connection as far as the only connection it had was to the prophecy that what the Red Witch had said to her in season 3 about the eyes. I see you shutting the eyes off forever of someone with brown eyes, with blue eyes, which leads into the Night King, and then eventually green eyes, which we all interpreted maybe that meant one of the Lannisters, obviously probably Cersei. Since she's
apparently
more
it meant
so
nobody.
Responsible for it meant nobody, right?
Yeah, so she hit 2 out of 3. I mean,
she hit 2 out of 3, which kind of falls in line of her character.
Melisandre wasn't always accurate.
She wasn't always accurate, right? Like, she was wrong with Stannis burning, her his child. It did not. I don't know. The sacrifice wasn't worthy. So, yeah. I'm totally fine with Arya. Bottom line, just taking out the Night King. It's just the setup for it was just fucking lame, and Bran's connection to the Night King was stupid. It didn't even make any sense. It's just I thought for the longest time, there was rumors online that maybe Bran is the Night King. Maybe there's more connection to this with him. But it just seems like Bran was just a three-eyed stalker raven that just flew around Westeros for his own fucking benefit, and happened to come across the Night King. And guess what? The Night King grabbed a hold of him and he burned his arm, and that's it. That's all we get.
It reminds me a lot of what happened in The Last Jedi, right? It reminds me a lot of there was this big speculations that went on.
Don't get me started about that.
No, I'm sorry.
God.
God.
Go ahead.
Later podcast, but the feeling is the same. The feeling was we're gonna speculate a shit ton about this. We're gonna talk about it, and then we're gonna
shit all over it.
And then they the script writers, the directors were both you know what? We're gonna take all this obscure great ideas and we're gonna nail it down to boring and fucking bland.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. That's
Whatever
exactly
you
what
audience members were expecting, fuck you. We're going to flip it on its head, and we're going to do our own fucking thing because nothing has continuity, doesn't have any connection. There's no sentimental value of connecting something with something previous that happened. There's
zero surprise.
No payoff.
Zero surprise and no payoff. And so there was, it wasn't even fan service. It was anti-fan service to the degree.
Yeah. Well, it was fan service in the fact that it was Arya, because everyone just loved the fact that Arya was this big, strong character, strong-willed. Nothing is going to stop her on her quest of bringing down Cersei and her army and avenging her father's death and making sure that her family is intact all the while, right? It just everyone was rooting for Arya. So that in itself, they had to pick her to slay one of the two giants, which was either Night King or Cersei. Yeah. I would have preferred to be in Cersei over the Night King, but I guess how it turned out, I am okay with it being the Night King. I just didn't like the setup for it in that episode. I feel like it should have went into the next episode, because that episode was shot so brilliantly as far as oh my God, this is it. They're going to take over Winterfell. I think Winterfell should have just fallen, and they get pushed back, and they got to go. They got to go back to down to King's Landing or something. Because you're right, Matt. When you mentioned the season before that they went ahead and they had the Hound and some of the other goons or whatever bring a White Walker to Cersei so that she could actually see a White Walker up close. She was terrified. She was actually scared of it. And at that point, I actually questioned her thought process as to why she didn't actually support them early on in episodes 1 and 2 by not sending any of the Golden Army to help out. That, honestly, I think that fell off from season 7 to 8. It was just no, we're going to change that, even though we kind of set up that maybe we are all going to band together and fight the common threat, because none of our family quarrels, whatever, fucking matter, because these White Walkers might take us all out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just preface this too, just a couple things. First, let me just start off by saying that if I was around during these times, I would have been killed off in episode 1, season 1.
By a mosquito.
I just would have never survived. But if I did survive, I'm sorry. But if Arya killed the Night King the way she did, everybody should have just been fuck you, Daenerys. Fuck you, Jon Snow. She's my leader. I'm sorry. This guy was the main threat in the entire world. And this chick comes out of nowhere, stabs him, ends the whole thing, and she just gets a little shout out. Oh, let's give a shout out for for Arya who killed the Night King, and then that was it. She just
killed Hitler. She should be
right. Even if she doesn't want it,
the Queen of Westeros.
But I would have just bowed to her. She just got nothing. So they were just oh yeah, she did it. And they just passed over it. Daenerys gave her a shout out, and that was it. Yeah. And for me, I thought that was, again, it downplayed it for me. It was just another thing that downplayed the situation, which was, again, one of the major threats. It was him and Cersei for the whole entire story. Finally, one of them gets killed, and then it's just done and over with, and nobody cares. And by the way, I just snapped, and I immediately thought of Thanos, and it was evil, and I didn't like it. I probably won't do it again. Yep. And is snapping considered the new middle finger? You snap and people are just gonna start hesitating, oh shit.
No, I think it's mostly you.
Half my meal just disappeared. What the hell?
Great diet plan. Just do with Thanos. Snap.
Yep. Oh man.
But that doesn't remove the food out of your stomach, right? It's still there. It's just putting the food down. So you just get hella fat.
That's how it happened. That's how it all happened. No, but back to Thrones, again, for me, they downplayed, again, the main bad guy. And I would have much rather have seen her take out Cersei and seen Jon Snow one-on-one with the Night King, because
Right?
that
Where
is
was
the
the sword battle?
storyline
So
from the
get this.
beginning, was him
Yeah.
versus him. Like, that was what they set up from
Yeah.
the get-go when those two characters got introduced to each other. Like, oh, I'm going to stare deeply into your eyes, back at each other. Jon Snow showing a lot of freaking fright and being terrified and not knowing what to expect. And you're like, man, this is going to be the sickest battle. All I want to see is his Valyrian steel with his ice sword. I want to see them just go at it. And maybe, who knows? They were speculating in the last season, like, oh, who's going to take the throne? Who's going to be like the next, fire god or whatever? That would have been sweet for his sword to go up and it turned to fire and him be literally fire and ice. Right?
Yeah.
Like
the fact that we didn't get a sword battle between Jon Snow and the Night King is absolute horseshit. Even more so after I watched that documentary, and the actor that played the Night King was not an actor. He was the lead stunt coordinator for the entire series, and literally could have done like an awesome ass sword battle with Jon Snow. Like, that would have been fucking amazing.
See, and
like, such a missed opportunity.
give me that. Fucking give me that.
Yeah.
Bastards.
You bastards. You missed out. You
Missed
fucking
out,
missed
man.
out.
And that's why that petition, and for anybody who isn't aware of it, I mean, they've already gotten over, I think, like 1.4 million. No. Yeah, million?
I think it's in the multi-millions now.
Multi-millions?
it's
No,
not
it'll
gonna
never happen. It's not the point. It's
No.
not
It's
The
not the
point-
point about it ever happening. It's about, because that just sends a bad precedence to the
Yeah.
whole,
people who did put in a lot of work.
all the work and whatnot. What it is, it's a stat that should stand out for anyone at HBO to say that, hey, it's not about viewership, how many people actually get drawn in to watch the show. It's to show that it ended, and that's all.
Yeah, it's exactly it, man. And then, what? It was almost 40-something% of people canceled their subscriptions to HBO, like right after Game of Thrones ended, and it was just like, what? They were like, whoa, Westworld season 3 is coming out, guys.
Yeah.
Like, just hold your horses.
Yeah,
and
early
I-
2020.
I will plug John Oliver, who airs after Game of Thrones. He literally said 2 weeks ago, this agency is fucked after this Game of Thrones ends. So he was correct.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have some things down the pike, but nothing that's gonna come close to.
No, after
who they
the end
got.
of Game of Thrones finale, they just tried to do a preview of all 16 shows they're gonna show. No, they're fucked. I'm sorry, HBO. I will watch.
I wouldn't say they're fucked. I mean,
I wouldn't say they're
still
fucked.
they're still a
because,
powerhouse
they're
who has
powerhouse.
like a ton of material.
And I'm
So outside of Watchmen, go on.
Okay, so they got a prequel series that actually Anthony Soprano, or actually,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tony
no,
Soprano's,
James Gandolfini's son.
Yeah, his young son, Anthony Gandolfini is going to play him.
Prequel.
Yeah, in a prequel series. I am so down for that.
Me too, man. I watched every episode of Sopranos,
Yeah,
and I
Sopranos
am
is
in
one of
for
my
that
favorite
big time.
shows.
Go on. What's
Absolutely.
next?
And then Westworld again. That I personally have not watched Westworld, but my brother, he's a huge fan. But I got friends that are huge fans of that. I guess obviously it's coming for season 3. It's doing just freaking tremendously well. I believe, isn't that Barry show on HBO as well?
Yeah. Barry's a great dark comedy, and I mean, they're the
And
Watchmen series.
that one, Bill Hader. I mean, that one.
Big Little Lies.
Yeah, I mean, those ones
Yeah.
are huge successes right now that are already getting picked up for new seasons. I mean, you can say that Game of Thrones was the powerhouse, but again,
It's
you
still
still
going to
was
be.
the
It's still going to be.
powerhouse.
No, it's going to be, because they're working on 3 other spin-off series, and
yeah.
I know you say it now like everyone's a little bit bitter, but you give it like a good year or two, people are going to get hungry again to see something else be explored in the island or in the.
I'm a
in the
doubter.
context
I
of
doubt it.
Westeros.
No, I
Yeah.
doubt it too, but I'm probably gonna watch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're at least
Like,
going to
I'm
look at.
gonna
You're
be-
at least
I'm gonna
going
be
to
a
watch.
realist. I'm at
Yeah.
least
Give
gonna
it
give it the
5
benefit of the doubt.
episodes.
It may just be 6. So good call.
What was
It's
the
a
first
miniseries.
season? 13?
No, they've all been 10.
10 until this one was 6.
This is
No,
six,
last year was what? Only was it 6 too? It was 8.
I think it was 8. Yeah, season 7
they
was
just
short.
made the slow decline.
They
They
did.
should at the minimum they should have made this season 8 episodes. The minimum.
The proof is in the pudding, man. There were signs everywhere.
The
Yeah.
biggest thing I feel like that they just got too big for themselves. I
Yeah.
get where they had to go storyline, but the basis of Game of Thrones was character driven. You had so many characters, and obviously you have to kill off a lot as you go along, and you have to find out the final destination for certain characters. But they focus too much on those guys, and if there's a lot of behind the scenes footage that's come out. There's like a 2-hour documentary of how they actually filmed this last.
Yeah, that's what Mike was referring to.
Yeah. So, but again, like it's unfortunate that I have to learn about the episode from the behind the scenes. That shouldn't be the case.
Trust me, there's not much to learn from that. It's literally.
But all the same, if I was
yeah.
I'm a non-book reader. You know, I picked it up, halfway through the second season. You shouldn't have to watch an episode and then have to go watch the directors talk about it to understand that episode.
Agreed.
And that's how I felt about the last 2-3 seasons, even when they were still in the books. It was I had to get the back speech to actually understand it. And that shouldn't be the way that any TV show have to be. HBO is lucky because they can do that thing with their time. And that's why I ultimately think they are screwed, because they won't be able to continue that facade, if you will.
Yeah, and just to flip the script on you guys, just to even just pull out any kind of positive out of season 8, who would you say was your favorite character in season 8?
In season 8?
Yeah, just your favorite. No negative. Just somebody that you thought all of a sudden maybe came to life in season 8. And did a good job.
It's got to be Drogon. He had no choice.
That's bad when the CGI is your favorite character. That's how fucking
How's
shitty
Ghost doing?
Ghost has a bit off ear, but he looked all right.
Oh yeah, and John finally petted Ghost.
Thank you. The internet again blew up when he just was like, all right, peace, Ghost, and didn't embrace him, and everybody's like, what the hell, man? This is your dog. This is your direwolf. You monster.
They planned that emotion though. They ended that perfectly.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't doubt that. But Mike, do you have a favorite character that kind of came to life for you in this season 8?
It's not so much a favorite character. I just feel like I feel satisfied with their ending, and that is Sansa becoming the Queen of the North. I feel like that honestly she was standing her ground. And I feel like her character path didn't really derail too much from what was previously set up.
Sure, I agree.
Yeah, I feel like that was probably the more appropriate in the books, but yeah, I was definitely okay with that.
No, you're right. Sansa throughout is probably the best character from a development standpoint throughout the whole entire series.
But I don't think the book has that. I mean, we'll even go that route, right? Because she doesn't.
Sansa in the book, she's not with Ramsay.
She's not with Ramsay, so she doesn't go through
the
horrors of
raped
Ramsay
and tortured. That's actually her best friend in the books that ends up marrying Ramsay, and she actually experiences being, around and being friends with her, but she doesn't personally go through those experiences that we saw in the show.
I will say that's probably the best character development that they actually continued on and closed perfectly was Sansa.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one. That was mine too. I think they closed her out perfectly. They made her a very strong Catelyn Stark-like woman. She represented her mother very, very well. She made the North, independent, somebody that wasn't within jurisdiction of the other kingdoms. She really took care of her home, and man, yeah, I just thought they just made her a very confident, powerful woman, and it was just cool to see. Especially
I want to see Arya just murder somebody.
Just anybody.
Anybody. I just wanted to see Arya just take down somebody so hard.
In the last episode, you mean?
She's going
in
west.
Any episode, yeah, right.
She'll just keep going west, man.
But they confirm that she's not getting a spinoff. That's it. She's done.
So, what was your worst character? You feel?
John.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Varys, but go ahead with John first. Let's get that over with.
John did nothing this whole last couple seasons.
That's not true. He cried pretty good.
Yeah, and
he was
pretty good at weeping.
Throne. I mean, if you listen to him, he was pretty good at that. Yeah.
John did
weeper.
Nothing outside of Hard Home when he went up and
Jon Snow knows nothing, so therefore he won't do nothing.
Touche. Well, then I will be quiet and I will yield my time. But even after he learned that he was his true heritage, he just was just a little fucking bitch.
Nope.
Sorry.
No payoff. No payoff with that.
No,
But
it
what
nothing.
an awesome reveal that was. For
I was hoping that
secret
last episode he was gonna get burned by Drogon and just have nothing. He'd just be there, like nude, naked, and be like, "I'm still alive."
Exactly. Talk about another
that was
missed
such
opportunity
a missed
that
opportunity.
Mike and I brought up yesterday. It was like all you had to do was even play it out the way it did, but you see Grey Worm visually see Jon Snow like telling his troops to retreat, which is going against orders of the Queen, which can be considered treason, and throw him in the mix of somebody who's going to be killed off and, you know, in front of this army, and the dragon is going to do it, and all of a sudden gets scorched and then comes out just butt-ass naked, and everybody knows the truth about his heritage. Like, that would have been sick, dude. That would have been so cool.
Or Grey Worm sees Jon actually kill Daenerys, and Drogon blows the fire through him, through the throne, and melts the throne. Jon standing there completely unscathed. And at that point, you're like, holy shit. Like, at least someone knows that he's a Targaryen.
Yeah, and that actually brings up Matt, go for it. But that just brings up something else that was probably one of my more upsetting points as well in the last episode.
Well, you can still do that. You can still have Jon being burned by fire and still deny the throne, because ultimately, I agree. I have no
that
problem.
would have been great.
I have no problem with Bran being the king, because when it comes down to it, yes. The best ruling king is somebody that knows your past mistakes and can actually honestly see your future, apparently what Bran can do. And if he can fly a crow over your warring partners, that's the best king you can have. I have no problem with Bran becoming the king.
But then on the other side of that,
what makes him worthy, thoe?
No, it doesn't matter what makes him worthy. Tyrion's right. He really is. It's the best story, whatever it may be. I personally have no problem with Bran being the king. But I have no problem with Jon denying the kingship again after being just burned down to a crisp and going and living in the north. I have no problem with that. It means he's truly worthy, yet giving it up in such a great just scale and visual part of it.
See, I have all the problem in the world with Bran being king. All of it.
Yeah.
All the problem in the world. And I wouldn't have that problem if he didn't get written the way it did in the earliest part of this last season, where he literally verbatim, you know, being quoted, "I can never be Lord of Winterfell. I can never be Lord of anything. I'm the three-eyed raven."
Well, he didn't say he can be king.
Wait a minute.
So, which is I'm a peeping
that
Tom.
doesn't. Yeah, I'm not going to be Lord. I'm not going to be anything but the three-eyed raven. Hey, do you want to be king? Yeah, king sounds good. Yeah, sure. Why not? I'll do that. That sounds like a good time.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think I came this far?
Yeah, it almost sounds devious to that point.
Stop it.
They almost portrayed him as a secretly evil character, where you still don't know Bran's true power and intentions, to the point where he orchestrated this. He was the puppet master, is how they made this seem to me. I'm going to wait until I get exactly what I want, and what I want is to be the ruler of everybody. And look, he had everybody do his dirty work. He had everybody protecting him. And then look at where he finally agreed to settle down as the leader of all the realms.
Yep.
I mean, from all of his past verbiages, doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. They could have made it fine being that, but they shouldn't have let him say, you know, "I'm not the Lord of Winterfell. I'm not the Lord of anything. I don't want to be. I'm the three-eyed raven." That just puts him in his own category. That puts him in a box.
So Ryan, so what do you think if nothing dramatic happened that we talked about? If it was the way that it ended, because it felt like it really did tie just things off, and things ended just fine with Bran being king, and
again,
all the Starks
would be
all the Starks going on.
Didn't previously say what he said. I don't mind the finishing.
So that's your biggest argument.
Yeah, it's you already stated you didn't want to be any kind of lord or leader, but then and if you didn't say that, then him being king, I'd have been totally understood
of what he just said.
Yeah, it was just a total fuck up, in my opinion.
Yeah. Nor did he do anything to help anybody to where they currently were.
Zero benefit.
Even being the three-eyed raven. You can't point to anything that actually anybody benefited from his knowledge, other than, "Oh, I know you're a Targaryen, Jon. You might want to tell Arya and Sansa right now."
He really stirred the shit.
Yeah, if anything, he was just a shit raiser. And
yeah, shit disturber, man.
Yeah,
just stir the pot.
I mean, if he really could see into the future, why didn't he say Theon that Arya was just right around the corner?
Yeah,
Like,
well,
what the
he
fuck?
can't.
for like a second.
He was unable to see the true future. He could see glimpses into the future, and so
Poor
my-
writing. Just poor
my-
writing.
Poor writing.
No,
poor writing.
exactly. My biggest complaint about season 8 and season 7 is that it was just so rushed. I don't know whose decision it was to come down to only do like 8 episodes in season 7 and then 6 in season 8. I understand money constraints, but you really could have just built that out to where the ending itself, I have no problem with. I honestly don't. I have no problem with Bran being the king. I have no problem with the Starks going off and doing their own things. But it could have been built differently in that respect. It could have been more jarring in that respect. It could have been. I have no problem
Could
with
have been
Arya.
just everything better. They had the potential to be great, and they but.
You had a beginning, you had an end, you fucked the middle.
If you thought that I was done bitching, I got another thing to bitch about. So, buckle in, so to speak. But
I will not buckle in. This is the 1970s.
This is safety first, okay? I don't care what generation we're in. No, okay. So,
Fuck
again,
that. I'm under my desk right now.
This turned into a middle school fire drill real quick.
Yeah.
Earthquake drill, California.
Yeah. Stop, drop, and roll. Why do we need to roll? Just stop and drop. All right. So, no, this is one of my biggest complaints too. I felt Grey Worm was a great character. I feel like his loyalty towards Daenerys was unmatchable. Like he was so loyal to her for so many different reasons.
I have a feeling I'm going to disagree with you here in a second.
You're not. You're just not. I'm sorry, but you're not, because the second Jon Snow killed Daenerys, with as loyal as Grey Worm was, there is no freaking way that they would have been like, oh yeah, let's restrain, Jon Snow. Let's throw him in prison. Let's have him do a trial. This is the freaking Unsullied who just slitted everybody's throat. You're telling me that they wouldn't? The first thing is just immediately execute Jon Snow? Like they're gonna make him a prisoner? Yeah. I mean, that for me is just there should have been I feel like Grey Worm should have walked in like right after it was done, and they should have fought, and then Jon Snow should have killed Grey Worm, and then he was on the run or on the lam or something different. But the fact that they imprisoned him is bullshit. That's bullshit.
I mean, at that point, that character has nothing left to lose, right? Like, he just lost his queen, he just lost his girlfriend, or his whatever.
Yeah, he's not
love,
mentally. He doesn't have the mental.
Yeah, he should just be going out guns blazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that they were able to show restraint is just, for me, was just another unrealistic thing to happen.
Best case scenario,
over and over.
Grey Worm goes into the throne room, sees Jon Snow there alone, blood on the floor, and then he's like, "I'm gonna kill you." Arya comes up behind him, slits his throat, takes his face.
I would have been
Grey Worm.
Oh my gosh!
The time.
See, that would be sick. That would have been so cool.
Arya comes up as Daenerys. Oh, that would have been.
Oh, shit.
Dude, any of that, just her using any of those abilities that she picked up on would have been so much better than what we got.
Honestly, though, I mean, through all the reading I've done, there's just a common factor here, and it just feels like the fans had no idea how they wanted it to end. There's so many differences in opinions. And, yeah, I mean, for what it is, I mean, it ended, it could have been a lot worse, but I feel like, I mean, for what they did in 6 episodes, I guess it's borderline acceptable. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I mean,
it's just
6
episodes. It's
a
huge letdown. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. All right, well, we don't have to go too much more into it unless you guys have any, major points you guys want to bring up. I mean, all in all, I will say 2 different sides of this. I will say, one, thank you, Game of Thrones, for giving us Game of Thrones to, one, be able to even talk about it. But we enjoyed a lot of that series. I mean,
seasons 1 through 4 are freaking amazing. Like,
I mean, yeah, I will watch those.
We watched all of it. We enjoyed all of it. We're talking about it now.
Yeah,
no, absolutely.
They gave us a lot of just great every Sunday, great television, and so from that aspect, thank you, Game of Thrones, for that. But I will heavily say season 8, just 7 and 8, just for me, it was, again, it was very disappointing. It was a letdown, but all in all, in a whole, now that it's completely over, there's nothing we could do about it or change it. It's fine.
I'll have to watch it
It's
again.
fine.
You know, and
Yeah, I will have to watch
maybe
it.
in a couple of
We'll
months.
learn to live with it, I guess.
And we can rewatch it and see how it goes. And in a couple of months, we can rehash some shit. But
You know, once we watch it again and there's not a water bottle or a Starbucks cup, maybe we'll really enjoy it.
You'll really
It feels
appreciate
more
those,
real.
those earlier episodes.
it feels way more realistic without those things.
That's an iced caramel frappuccino.
Ice
Oh
macchiato.
my god.
Oh no, but
Luckily, they didn't.
God, we went through this whole podcast and we didn't even talk about Sam. But my God, yeah, that just goes to show you how many characters are in this show.
Yeah, I mean, we would be here all day. There's no
Yeah.
way we could break down
Winner is
every
Sam
character.
at dinner, dude.
Yeah, I mean, we
That
missed
dude.
we missed a lot of people, man. We missed
Yes.
we missed a lot of people in this podcast. But again, there's just too much to get through, and in order for us to do that, that would have been about a 5 or 6 hour podcast. I'm guessing, guys.
Continued next week.
Easily.
Continuing last week. Yeah, but by the way, just kind of the way things are going to be kind of heading is
That's it.
we're going to always be doing a main episode where we're going to be kind of breaking further into, you know, whatever the focus is that week. Not even that week, just something maybe that's more on our radar. But we are going to start releasing something midweek, and it's going to be 25, 30 minutes, either a trailer breakdown, a comic book breakdown, video game breakdown.
Next week, Quantum Leap.
Just throwback. Just throwbacks. Hey, and we can do throwbacks. Absolutely do throwback. Yeah, absolutely. Show us some love. Write us a comment. Obviously, on the Anchor app, there's voice messages that you guys can do comments on. iTunes, you know, leave a comment. And we have a Twitter page at What's the Focus. Feel free to leave us a comment. Anything that maybe, you know, topic-wise you want us to bring up in a future podcast. If you'd like to be on a future podcast, if you feel like you're an expert or just are very passionate about something.
What's the focus? Stop signs. Do we need them?
Yeah, do we need them? Yellow lights. Is that a thing? You know, who knows? So please always bring that to us. We're very open to it. And obviously, we're just getting started. Episode 9, we're planning on building this thing. And we'd love the support, and we'd love to have people
9-9.
experience it. Yeah, 9-9, man. Back to the beginning. Full circle.
Brooklyn, not Nazis. Let's go.
Yeah, do you guys have anything else you guys want to say just to close it out?
Love Game of Thrones. I'm going to watch it again, and I'll have more opinions in like 3 months. Bye.
Great
Well, we
show. It's been a fun ride. Definitely interested to see you know, any of these spin-off shows, what might entail, and maybe there's going to be some resolve to some of the characters, and maybe we might get to see some of our favorites. So you never know.
So sad.
Only time will tell, my friend. Only time will tell.
Yep.
Anyway, that's going to do it for us, you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We appreciate the support. We see the numbers growing week by week, so we definitely appreciate that. So thank you again. This is WTF, What's the Focus podcast. Have a great night, and we'll see you next week.
Love you.
Thanks all. Later.